I remember at the end of every single month, I had to just borrow money and many times just to pay for rent, and the pain of that, just keeping up. I remember that struggle and worrying about if I could feed my mom and my younger sister. It was such a hard time. And I remember thinking, like, why is this so difficult? I feel like I'm a good person. I feel like I've done well, but I don't know why it is that it's almost impossible for us to advance ourselves and to get progress, right? And long story short, I kind of got into real estate, doing regular transactions. I did pretty well for myself, working early mornings, late nights. And once I was kind of financially stable, I realized I didn't love real estate. I kind of hated it in a way because it kind of, in some sort of way, I felt I was helping the wealthiest people I can help transact with the most expensive homes that I could. But the people that were in my shoes when I was struggling, I have to turn them away and say, hey, you unfortunately right now can't afford it. You need a higher down payment. You don't make enough. And the truth of it is they almost never are able to get out of that rat race.
What up, Masters? Welcome to another episode of Path to Mastery podcast. Today we're with Franco Perez. Franco, the mobile home guy. What's going on, man?
What's going on? I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, man, excited to have you. It's not all the time that I get a lot of people reach out to me about the show and requests, and it's not all the time I get excited about a topic. And I saw the topic today, and I'm like, all right, this is pretty good, man. So what you're doing is you're bringing affordable housing to Silicon Valley, and you're doing that with mobile homes.
Yeah.
And that's cool. And we're gonna obviously get into a conversation about that. And I'm guessing I don't know actually if there's my first thought was there's got to be some resistance around that, but I want to hear from you. But let me just tell people who you are first, and we'll just get right into it. So you grew up in an unstable situation. You're on a mission to create affordable housing in Silicon Valley. You discovered that the Bay Area's mobile home parks offer an abundance of underused land with great growth potential. After years of dedication to your vision, Franco established a devoted team of like-minded individuals who believe that their positive impact equals success. Inspired to reimagine mobile homes and expand affordable housing opportunities across the Bay, Franco's talented team strives to unlock the pathway to home ownership and help families establish a financial security where it might otherwise seem impossible, especially in this time. And beyond his drive to develop cost-effective housing, Franco also enjoys videography, showcasing some of his favorite local restaurants and small businesses, and promoting San Jose's unique culture. So let me ask you this. How many of these homes do you have going on right now?
Well, in the last year, this year, I couldn't tell you, but in the last year we did about 109. So
Okay.
we faced a lot. We were a part of it with as far as like consulting between park owners and then also residents and that sort of thing. But we also, on top of that, we do regular transactions and stuff around mobile homes as well. So that number I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay. And why Silicon Valley? Why affordable homes? Like, tell us about what is it that drove you to want to do this?
Oh man. Yeah. So I guess what drove me, it kind of stems back to kind of where I grew up. I kind of grew up in a weird situation where my parents split. My dad was the main breadwinner. He left, and immediately I had to drop out of school, didn't get through college to start working right away. I remember at the end of every single month, I had to just borrow money and many times just to pay for rent, and the pain of that, just keeping up. Um, I remember that struggle and worrying about if I could feed my mom and my younger sister. It was such a hard time. And I remember thinking, like, why is this so difficult? I feel like I'm a good person. I feel like I've done well, but I don't know why it is that it's almost impossible for us to advance ourselves and to get progress, right? And long story short, I kind of got into real estate doing regular transactions. I did pretty well for myself, working early mornings, late nights. And once I was kind of financially stable, I realized I didn't love real estate. I kind of hated it in a way because it kind of, in some sort of way, I felt I was helping the wealthiest people I can help transact with the most expensive homes that I could. But the people that were in my shoes when I was struggling, I have to turn them away and say, hey, you unfortunately right now can't afford it. You need a higher down payment. You don't make enough. And the truth of it is they almost never are able to get out of that rat race. And I wanted to find something that would help people in those shoes get and make it a little easier for them to grow out of that. Looked into affordable
Got it.
housing, didn't love it, and then found mobile homes and realized there's so many mobile home parks, so many mobile homes throughout the country, and decided to help transact with that, help people get into them. And then now we convert old 700 square foot homes and convert them into 1,800 square foot, beautiful single, like looks just like a single family home today. And that's kind of how we got into it.
Wow. So you are a residential real estate agent? Is that primarily what you're doing, selling real estate as an agent?
That is a part of a big part of our business. Yes. So we
Is
have
that what you were
agents.
doing before though when you transitioned? So you were a real estate salesperson and you weren't able to help people, so you transitioned into the mobile homes to help more people. Just,
Exactly.
just okay. Got it. Got it. And so tell us, like what is, well, first off, I mean, when I think about Silicon Valley, like when I wouldn't even guess that there would be mobile home parks. Are there mobile home parks everywhere in the country, or are there only
There
certain
are.
areas?
I mean, there's in our county alone, there's over 64 mobile home parks, and I've grown up in this area for years. The truth is, people don't realize there's mobile home parks everywhere because you never have an excuse to go into them unless you know someone that lives
Mm,
there. And our only association when it comes to mobile homes is through the media, through news, through the movies, through Breaking Bad. And the media makes it look like this very ugly thing: bad quality homes, bad quality people, criminals. The slums is kind of what we're associated with. Where the truth of it is that, just like apartments, there's bad quality apartments and there's luxury style apartments, right? And there's a full spectrum with mobile home parks as well. They aren't all what you see in the media. There's beautiful mobile home communities with gyms, spas, tennis courts, and that sort of thing. And the people that live in these communities are also of great quality as well. Um, and that's kind of our agenda lately, is showcasing how beautiful this is for society, how it's a perfect stepping stone for people, and how do we use how do we change those stigmas so that low income families can use it to their benefit to get out of that rat race.
mm. So I don't know a lot about mobile home parks myself. I'm a real estate. I have a real estate broker's license. What's like the main difference between, say, like a mobile home community and just like a development, like a regular subdivision of homes?
Sure. One of the big elements that's very different is that you don't actually own the land itself. And a lot of people will see that as a big flaw, but there's a lot of pros to it too. So when you own one of these mobile homes, you are paying a space rent. Usually it's about a third of the payment of what you're paying for the home, but you don't own the land as well. But you do have the agreement with the park to be in that community. The second is you don't own the land, but you do own the unit above. So whether it's an old 1970s single wide or a brand new home that we build, that's a 2,000 square foot home or whatever. So there are nuances that you'll have to deal with working with the park owner, with the park management. You'd have to get pre-qualified. There's different lending that's involved. What I've realized is that there's not a lot of people that, unfortunately, because of the bad stigmas, not a lot of people are wanting to help someone sell or purchase a mobile home because they feel like it's too below them, right? So we built something to try to help just specialize just with that.
That's
Um,
that. Oh, I'm sorry, I jumped in on you.
oh no, I was all finished.
Okay, cool. So is it, oh, by the way, we're on Clubhouse Live. As I told you, we got a bunch of people here, so we're gonna open it up for a few questions for you. Probably in about 10 minutes. Get a few questions from Clubhouse. Always nice to have a live audience too. Get some different perspectives. I'm
Love that.
curious when it comes to the mobile homes. Do you get like ironically I was on a call this morning. They were talking about short-term rental. I mean, it's probably completely different things, right? But
Okay.
a lot of the municipalities now are creating challenges for short-term rentals. Do you guys have specific challenges when it comes to mobile homes?
There are some. I was just at Washington, D.C. last month, kind of we do a lot of advocacy and lobbying to kind of prove why this is great for society and what all these bad stigmas are. And, I think when it comes to most municipalities and governments, they need, they have a requirement of affordable housing that they need in a city, and they have a requirement to help provide for low income families to be able to live in their cities, right? So what we're actually seeing is, one is, it becomes a great use case for a lot of cities, but then there are other areas where it's misunderstood, and they feel like it's being a nuisance to a community. But that's why we're very prideful of kind of our YouTube channel and showcasing how beautiful these communities can be, how beautiful these homes are, so that people can really understand the value in it. And we also share stories about, hey, this is a teacher where all of her coworkers are being forced out of this area because housing in this area is very expensive. Uh, but because she purchased a mobile home, she feels more financially secure. She's able to stay in this area and have a really beautiful house that's in a prime place like the Silicon Valley, and how it's helped her boost her income and her net worth as well. Right. And that's unfortunately a lot of this stuff that we're taught in school isn't around how do we build our wealth, how do we build our net worth, how do we get assets, right? And that's exactly what we try to teach through this, is that this is an entry level wealth building journey, and it becomes a perfect stepping stone to get people out of that rental rat race.
All right. As far as like, is there like, I guess as I'm thinking, I'm just kind of being devil's advocate. I guess
Yeah.
one of the things I think is like, it's really going to be about the quality of the people that are moving into the communities, right? Like a community could go downhill depending on who's buying the homes, right? Or who's getting the homes. So
Mhm.
is there like a vetting process, or how does that work? Or is anybody, qualified to do this, or is there some type of a process? How does that work?
Yeah, great question. So, and now every state, every area is a bit different, right? So, to be honest, a lot of what we're doing, and we're learning different areas, and this is really a great use case for a lot of these high density areas. So whether it's Austin, Atlanta, LA, San Diego, Bay Area, uh, these are areas where it's very difficult to own. There are bad quality parks out there too, right? And there are bad quality parks that will allow anyone and everyone to be there. Now, and then there's the average parks, which do have a vetting process. You need to make a certain amount. You need to prove. There's some parks that will do criminal background checks, that sort of thing, and they'll check with employment and all of that, right? So there are some parks in our area where people are making 200 grand a year and still don't make it to pass that vetting process. And then there are some very mediocre parks that we know that some people can, that anyone can live in, right? But we have to understand that everyone's situation is very different, right? Everyone's preferences are very different. There's single couples that aren't worried about safety but want to start building their wealth, and then there's families with kids that's the highest priority, or being in a school district is their biggest priority, right? And knowing how do we help find out what their priorities are and help them reach their goals, right? You know, in I kind of want to talk about the problem a little bit and how it's relevant as well. But in our area, the numbers, and this is happening with every metro area, I'm going to express numbers, but this is going to be, might be far off than most of the country. We kind of have it the worst in the country, but a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment is about $3,400 a month for somebody in San Jose. And the median sales price for a single family home is $1.6 million, which is a very far attainable thing to reach. The ratios, these numbers might not match in your city, but the ratios are kind of similar. But the thing is like, how do you ever dream of owning a single family home, raising a $200,000 down payment, and one day being able to afford an $8,000 mortgage, when I'm still trying to keep up with paying rent? And what's beautiful about mobile homes is that it's like a hybrid ownership, because you don't actually own the land. You are leasing the land, but you own the asset above. So a third of that, one is the cost of entry is much lower. And for example, our average mobile homes in here is 300,000, but it's a nicer, newer home. And then with that, all they have to come up with is about $30,000, and their payments would pretty much be equivalent to what they're paying if they were to be renting, right? So the average space rent here is about $1,000. Their mortgage would be about $2,500, which gets them to about $3,500 a month. And just by shifting from renting into owning a mobile home, they get to have a lot of the benefits of home ownership. They get the appreciation. They get to leverage a loan to build their net worth. They get to build equity. They get tax benefits as well. And these are all benefits that were only usually accessible by the rich and the wealthy. And unfortunately, we have to protect these opportunities to be available to everyone.
So how, I guess, how would you get, like, if they don't own the land, how do they earn appreciation?
Yeah. So a lot of the bad myths around, one of the big common myths is that these depreciate in value over time, right? And the key thing that people have to understand, it's kind of similar to like commercial real estate or whatnot. If the area, if people are willing to spend $3,500 a month for a rental, then what would be the alternative for them to be able to get out of that, right? The alternative is owning or whatnot. And when you're paying for a month's rent, all you're really paying for is temporary shelter for that specific month. You don't get any benefit of that back, right? So if you purchase, and mind you, in our area, there's a mobile home park right across from the Google campus, another one right across from the Samsung building, and that sort of thing. When you own a mobile home, you own the mobile home, plus you own the contract that you have with that mobile home park. So being in that location and your association with that park, being that in that location, has a high value to it. It's very similar to if I were to say a 2-bedroom single family home in San Jose versus a 2-bedroom single family home in Nebraska, right? It could be an ugly home here. It could be $2 million. And in Nebraska, we could have a single family home for 200,000, right? So there's value to be had in being in a specific area with a specific economy and a specific school district, right? So by having a mobile home in a community that's in a high desirable area, there's value to be said there. And then the resale, we're finding a lot of people that have lived in these homes have had their homes appreciate by 20, 30% over 3 years. And being able to have something that they can use then to purchase single family homes later down the line, right? So it's always going to be kind of dependent on the area that you're in as well.
So are they able to like negotiate, like somebody, like if you're buying a mobile home, you go in, you go to the landowner and you can negotiate terms with the landowner? Could you say like, I want a 20-year lease on, like, how does that work? Because it would seem like if I don't own the land and my house is on the land, and then I got somebody that just is difficult at some point, they just say, hey, listen, I don't want your house on my land anymore. And then you're kind of screwed, right? So how does that work?
Yeah, that's a good concern. And I think there's a lot of confusion about how this works, and this could be a whole nother channel and topic.
Are they long-term, no leases or rentals, really long-term?
They are. You basically, your lease agreement in your with the community is you continue to pay that rent until the term that you sell it to move out. So you could own it for 5 years, for 10 years, for 20 years. We have families that have lived in these mobile homes for 30 plus years. And there are government entities that protect the use case of how the residents, how the relationship of the residents work as well. And I'm a big part of that also. So let's say, for example, there's something that happened. A lot of people are afraid of one thing that you mentioned is like, hey, what if they close the park down and do a redevelopment, which has happened in one out of several. One, it's very difficult. It takes like 7 to 10 years to do so. And when they did do that once recently, they actually ended up paying them to more than 50% of what their home was actually worth. So their homes were about 200,000, and it works kind of similar to eminent domain.
Yeah.
The park owner had to pay them 200,000 plus about $80,000 more for the inconvenience, for having to relocate and that sort of thing. And if you think about it, the banks that are lending for these mobile homes understand the risk profile as well. They're not going to be lending $300,000 if they know that one day this could be redeveloped, one day they could just say, hey, you don't own this anymore, right? So keep in mind, they have lots of legal backing and that sort of thing as well as the insurance companies. So there are a lot of protections around your asset when you do purchase a mobile home in a park.
It's good to know. And then if and like reality is when you want to move, you just put your home on a trailer and you drive it away. Is it like one of those trailer things you see, like those, those big? Is that like how it works, or?
Not really. So I don't know if you got a chance to see what we build. Like, we really build these homes to the highest, heaviest quality. And
so they're not bored. They don't drive. They don't move like you can't put them on wheels and stuff.
No, not really. I mean, people have done it, but it's not always the most economical situation because it costs a lot to split them up. We put them together in two pieces. We do the drywall, we do the tie down system, earthquake bracing, you name it. And to be honest, we build these homes just enough to be classified as a mobile home so that it doesn't really concern the real estate entities, but it's as permanent as could be. And the quality of these homes that are 2x4s, there's 2x6 exteriors. We have cement, fireproof, weatherproof and termite proof exterior as well, double pane windows, all of that. And it's very costly to move these. The best benefit is that they get to resell this to a future homeowner that might need it later down the line. And that's usually the exit from there. The other beautiful thing about these communities, because they are classified as low income, what allows for the price to stay the way it is that they're resident owned mobile homes. So everyone that lives in these communities have to have this as their primary residence. And it's a beautiful thing because you get to know your neighbors. Everyone's invested in their unit. Everyone takes care of their home. And you have that sense of pride of ownership when it comes to these homes and communities as well. And you're not competing when you're purchasing something like this. You're not competing with an investor that's purchasing it to rent it out and that sort of thing, which allows more opportunities for families that actually need this.
Well, it's a cool concept, man. You kind of sold me on it a bit. Like, is this? I feel like it might be. Is it a good investment to buy a mobile home park? I feel like it might be a pretty good investment to get the right one, right?
I mean, that's one of the things that we've been getting into in the more recent years. Only recently have we started doing consulting for like park ownership, park purchases, that sort of thing. But you'll come to find out that lately it's been the hot topic of this industry space is that there's a lot of these mobile home parks that are misunderstood, that are misevaluated even. And you'll see that only until the recent years are we starting to now build mobile home parks in a lot of these areas. Like for example, Tesla's building a gigafactory east of Reno, and we were asked to kind of consult them, seeing if they could build a community that way. Because if you think about it, we have a lot of construction issues. Part of our affordable housing issue, there's a lot of issues to it, but one of the biggest issues is the cost of construction. The way we build these homes is still how we built them 30 years ago. And if we think about it, a lot of the people that are working in construction are 40 years old and older, and they're retiring and getting out of the industry. And we don't have a lot of young people that want to be construction workers. So it's only going to get more difficult to build these units. And if we don't innovate fast, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. The other part of that is, if I like to explain, is that if you also think about it, cars were only built for the rich and the wealthy before, and it was only until we were able to build them on an assembly line at a very streamlined fashion that we were able to build it for everybody and accessible at an accessible cost for everybody. But now that's exactly what we're doing with these homes. We're building these homes on an assembly line in a streamlined fashion and keeping the cost of construction way lower than what you would on a site-built home. And it's becoming a really hot topic because it is a necessity that we need.
But I mean, you could do the same. I know there are builders now that are doing similar with stick. Not, I don't know if it's called stick built, but they're using like instead of using wood, it's like I don't know what it's called, like
containers and that
man-made,
sort of thing.
like, but it's not containers, but like instead of using stick wood, they're using like a man-made for studs. I forget what, I don't even know. It's like a PVC, right? Or like a plastic. And you're seeing more of that, right? Where so to keep affordability down.
Yeah, there's always a lot of prototypes and a lot of new innovation around housing. And I think that's so important that we have things like that. But one of the things that I tell people is it's really cool to look into the future of what's possible, whether it's 3D printing homes, cement building homes,
That's
that
it.
sort of
3D
thing.
printing. That's exactly what I was talking about. Yeah.
So that's something that hopefully will kind of help build something out for the future. But what we also have to understand is how we're building these homes now and how we're building them at scale now. It's already something that we're doing, and how we're building it is building these homes at a fraction, at about a third of what it would cost to build a single family home. And what I love is that it's something that works now, and that's proven and approved, and we're able to do it already.
Well, congratulations, man. I'm excited. I'm excited for your success, man. I hope you keep going with this. It's super cool. I want to open it up. We got some people on Clubhouse. See if we have any questions. If you have a question on Clubhouse, just give me a flash and I'll let you ask Franco a question here. Yeah, Shantae's with us. She's got a question.
Hi. So I got a couple questions actually. But I'll ask one, and then if nobody asks, then I'll continue to ask. Is this something that you're looking to do all over the country, or is this something that is area specific?
Yeah. So what's cool is that there's already a lot of old mobile home parks. They were built in the 70s that were already there as an infrastructure. So originally we just started in the Silicon Valley, and then now we're doing LA, San Diego, bit of Phoenix area, and then we do consulting for like Austin, North Carolina, and other areas as well. But the thing that I love about this, whether it's through us or anyone else, is that it's a model that can be used in any metro area, because the infrastructure of the mobile home parks are already there. And it would be kind of a simple situation to take out the old inventory of the old mobile homes. We'll take something small and maybe bad quality back then and replace it with something that's much larger and better quality home anywhere out in the country.
Awesome. Thank you. I'll see if anybody else has questions.
Anybody else? If you guys have on the stage have a question, give me a mic flash. All right. Well, Shantae, if you have another question. And
okay, good. So I'm actually in Tucson, which is like an hour and a half, 2 hours from Phoenix. And I have noticed a decline in the mobile home areas here. They're kind of taking them out, just making them obsolete. Are you in a position where you're, vetting for more areas, or are you closed to the groups that you're working with?
Yeah. So I do a lot of advocacy and stuff around governments and that sort of thing. And we actually built, what's interesting is I've built homes out of Buckeye, which is kind of near you, and then also Chandler. So one of the things that we do is what we do is, as far as mobile home parks go, is very useful in very cost of high cost housing areas. So there's parks near Scottsdale where this makes a lot of sense. There's parks in Chandler where this makes a lot of sense. But we also do modular building as well. We use our homes and build them on private property, which in areas like the Phoenix market where there's a lot of land, this makes a lot of sense to use our mobile homes to build them out at a rapid rate and lower what it takes to build them on site. So that's another entity that we do. And the strategy around housing in different areas are always going to be kind of unique to that particular market.
Wonderful. Do you have a website that you can share with us?
Yeah, all of our links are at www.franco.tv, or we have our YouTube channel. You could just look up Franco Mobile Homes. You could see it's a really beautiful. I think I urge people to kind of see the quality of these homes, what they look like, how they're built. We love creating educational content about the construction process and how it's changing, and how it's changing stories and that sort of thing. So all of our stuff are on that YouTube channel.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Shante.
Thanks.
Appreciate you as always. Awesome. And so Franco, let me ask you this question. What's the biggest like rebuttal you get? Like I'm probably not asking the right, the questions, like what's the biggest challenge you come up against, or maybe rebuttal?
Yeah. Well, I think first off, when I left doing regular real estate stuff, I came across this idea thinking it would be great, and I was all excited, and I had to find investors to help me fund my first prototype project. And I reached out to everyone I knew, and even plus that, and kept getting denied. Everyone's like, why would I ever invest in a mobile home? Are you crazy? And that sort of thing. And it's amazing how people choose to be fearful before being open-minded. And it came down to the desperation of, I think for me, getting denied, I lose spirit very easily. But knowing that one day I'll be able to help even just one family get a step out of that rental rat race made me driven to keep asking. It came down to me telling one investor that, hey, you make all the upside, I will make nothing on the first two projects, just so that it will help me be able to build and prove my concept makes sense, right? So the first two projects, I was very negative. I put a lot of my money into it. I had to do a lot of learning and that sort of thing to make it work. But once it was done and completed, people have to see that it's possible before they'll believe it. And we use that project as leverage to get a next investor, to get understanding about what we're trying to accomplish, to get the quality built to the way we wanted it to prove that we could do it. And once people saw the way these homes were, we had multiple offers, pretty much a line of people that wanted to purchase these mobile homes, and it blew up from there, right? But I think in the background, it's very tough to believe what demand is, what people want, and that sort of thing. But if you know the problems in your area and you know what you're building is going to make sense, and you just kind of have to believe in yourself. And that's what helped me get through it. And now we've done hundreds of these now. So it's amazing to be able to say that.
Well, congratulations, man. So what would you say to somebody listening now that's like, hey, I want to get involved in this? Like, what would be the next step for that person, or the first step for that person?
Well, it depends who we're talking to. So I mean, if we're talking at an investment spectrum, we don't really have a fund or anything like that anymore. We're self-funded now, but I would say on the investment element, look into park ownership. There's a lot of entities that kind of help with that. There's some co-ops and that sort of thing. But if we're talking about really our main drive is helping that entry-level ownership. So I guess the first thing is really looking into what are the real financials of these mobile homes? What does it cost? What would it look like for me to change that? Because, and where am I at now? So if you're renting, you got to understand that this is way better than renting. And then because you have a lot of opportunity for upside. And then, but it always kind of depends on the situation you're in, but always they could reach out to me we have our phone number on our YouTube channel. We have a lot of comments and stuff through there where people can ask questions and get free advice, and even get pre-qualified for a loan if they wanted to.
And what would you say to the real estate agent that is, like, I know, like when I was selling real estate, it just wasn't something I paid a lot of attention to. I knew the financing was more difficult. The prices were a lot lower usually. What would you say to real estate agents?
Yeah, I would say learn it as much as you can. I was in this whole real estate agent cycle, and we tend to chase what's sexy and what's sexy is like selling multi-million-dollar homes, making a fat commission. But you know what? I think there's a lot of agents out there that behind the scenes, that's not what drives them. I think they become in this position because they want to help people. And I think if you realize that when you help a low-income family find the first mobile home that they're able to get when they never thought it was possible, that over any commission is the most fulfilling thing ever. And I think once you've experienced that, you'll be driven to kind of help more and more. But yeah, I think for the agents out there, have this as a tool in your tool belt. Understand the differences when it comes to lending, the differences when it comes to how you get a park approval and that sort of thing. Our channel, I feel like I keep talking about our channel,
Yeah,
but we
good.
have a lot of educational videos about exactly that. What are the differences when it comes to purchasing as an agent? What are the differences? What are the lenders that you should look for? All of this stuff, we aim to really build value through that.
So I'm subscribing to your channel right after we hang up. Anything else I should have asked you that I didn't ask you or we should have talked about?
No, I mean, it's your show. I think we've covered a lot. I think, no, not that I can think of.
Okay, cool, man. Well, I appreciate you being here. And again, it's Franco. Is it Franco.tv or how do we get you again? What's the best way?
Yeah, it's www.franco.tv. There you'll see like 3D Matterports of our homes that we build. And you'll also see our YouTube channel links and stuff like that there.
Okay, man. Well, I appreciate you doing this. I learned a lot today and just want to say thanks. And also want to thank my people on Clubhouse, Shantae, Vashon, Jay, and everybody else here. We got about 18 people just chilling out in Clubhouse with us as well today. So that's not a bad deal. So Franco, man, just want to say again, thank you. Appreciate you. And any final thoughts you want to say to people listening? Like what's your one thing you want to tell everybody that listened to this episode, this interview today?
I think if I were to leave something out there, it would to be to drive towards something that you feel like you can create an impact. I think there's a lot of stuff out there that on shows that want us to chase that money and that dollar, but I feel like most people, if they're like me, I feel like what drove me the most energy and to become more resourceful was to create an impact and to make a difference. And that's really what's gotten me to be as energetic about what I'm doing to get to where we're at today. So I think, find that purpose.
Amen, brother. Thank you.